Hey everybody, this is Jesse Knox at East of Burton. So I did a thing and I want to talk about my thing here. This is a Fecon Mulcher and the skid steer attached to it is a John Deere 333G. And I rented this because I thought I could mulch my 17 acres of cedar trees, some blackberries, and fire breaks. And this is a lesson of a lot of ownership, slowing down, calling people, make sure you're up to date. So it's all worked out. God's laughed at me, pat me in the head, said, "Good little stupid." It's all worked out. So, I was waiting for a contractor to come. He's a really good contractor, good forester, but he's just all over the place, and I wasn't hearing from him. And I thought, he's just too busy. I'm just going to tackle it. Maybe I can rent a mulcher. And so I did. Found a company pretty close by that had one, and they came by last Friday and dropped it off. And I'm like, okay, I had it for a week, so I'm going to use it. So I got to running it, and I had some issues because I wasn't given a tutorial, but I also didn't ask for a tutorial either. And it was kind of frustrating. But then when you watch videos on running these mulchers, I had this up in the air mulching like a 4-inch cedar tree, which this one should go up to like 6 to 8 inch, So I had it up in the air, and a piece of wood came out and hit that window and shattered it. And I was just like, what just happened? So I, immediately start calling. I got a hold of it. Since it's John Deere, we have a John Deere store here in Fairfield. They came out that afternoon, put it in, but it was like $1,100 plus service, so I was like, ouch. But then I start asking other contractors who use these machines, and they all were like, they're supposed to have plexiglass if you run that mulcher. And there's actually a forestry grade version of this skid steer. So it has a big bumper, it has a skid plate that's really heavy underneath. The plexiglass is number one. All the lights have guards on, protected. So there's a lot of things I didn't realize when I was renting this thing. And I'm like, well, I'll try mulching little stuff. And, the little stuff quickly turned into big stuff. So I think I maybe did a half an acre with it Friday. And then Saturday I ran for a few more hours thinking, well, maybe I can mulch these pesky blackberries. My plan was to mulch the blackberries around these black locusts so I can actually get in there and hack and squirt. Well, it was so thick, it was so congested with black locusts and the canopies. When you try to run this thing on the ground, the canopies of the limbs of the locusts that have fallen, they just bounce and vibrate, and they don't want to mulch right. And this thing has a high flow option for this mulcher, so it's I'm not quite sure how it works, but it's kind of like, I guess it speeds up the hydraulic flow to make this more efficient. So even doing that, it still wasn't great. Almost bust the glass again. I think started driving, a limb was getting closer, managed to stop in time. It did scratch the window a little bit, but back to skid steer. So, but yeah, it was not going how I was hoping it would, and I was really disappointed in myself for not doing more, calling around, asking more questions, like, hey, what do I all need for this thing? So the rental company's really good. They switched the rates around. So only had it for a few days. Only put 6 hours. I'm going to go wash it up here for them and return it. But it's just for anyone who's interested. There are some really big machines out there. There's a cool company in Texas called Cedar Eater, and they have mulchers 8 foot wide, but they have 300 horsepower. There's some kind of skid machine. I'm not sure what the difference is. Some kind of forestry graded tractor, in a nutshell, is the best way to describe it. And those things are grinding like 20-inch cedar trees, and they're just gone. I mean, it's insane. That kind of service isn't up here, but it's something I'd recommend if you can find a company, and it's not their fault, it's my fault for asking more questions, but do your research and ask lots of questions. I don't think there's anything wrong. It's pretty easy to operate. I like it, but it's just, this thing's not suitable for forestry use. It's a nice skid steer. I don't want to ruin it, and I'm liable for it. So I'd rather just stop now while I'm ahead, right? But when you lease something like this, first of all, I would definitely lease it. That way, if there is an issue, the company lease it from, all the repairs is on them, because that's how lease works. No different than leasing a vehicle from an auto place. They take care of the oil changes and all that stuff, right? So, because things happen, But hopefully you deal with a company, and again, I'm not blaming them, but you work with somebody like, oh yeah, we rent these things a lot. This is what you need. We don't have that in stock right now. Like, we don't have this particular skid steer available. Wait a little bit. We don't want you using the one like this one here. So it's unfortunate. If it had you know, the capabilities or like the proper situations, I'd be mulching right now. As I think I could, we mulched a couple bigger trees, like nothing too huge. I think another one was 6 inch. It mulched really good, actually a pretty good job. But that little one, man, it just sent that chunk of wood right out that window, and I'm like, we're done. I'm done, you know, because I just don't want to tear up this machine, you know. So yeah. But it's just a lesson going forward. And another thing, like insurance, like I am insured for this, but my insurance agent explained to me, well, when next time you rent a piece of equipment, you know, make sure it's ask the value of the equipment, because you don't have to insure it forever like that. Just do like, for if you're gonna rent it for a week or a couple of days, we can put a temporary policy on until it's back at the companies back in their hands. So like, you know, it's like, oh wow, okay, so we, you know, need to be calling our agents ahead of time and get the best package deal, because things can go wrong, and you hate to, you know, put you and your family, your farm in a serious, you know, a really bad proposition, you know. So definitely do your research. It's a cool machine, like I said. Just a lot of ownership on my part. I should ask more questions, should have called more people. But the funny thing is a big lesson on patience, because my contractor's coming this week, and I told him what happened. And he's very understanding. He's like, I don't blame you. I'm sorry that happened to you, but yeah, I mean, I went and run that thing without the forestry kit. It's just not safe, you know, and I don't want to put myself in the hole any further. So I'm really grateful for the company's understanding, and they were working with me to give me a better rate, because I did rent the machine for a few days, and I did use it for a couple days, and I don't think I put 6 hours on it. So, but now we're gonna go clean it up and make sure it's nice and clean for them to come pick it up, top off the fuel tank, and go from there. But just, you know, it's kind of like, I was thinking about this, like when I was, you know, watching videos on this, I couldn't help but think of like a plumber or a furnace technician hearing it 100 times a day from people. Like, why I watch a video on YouTube to fix my leaky sink or to fix my furnace? I'm like, oh God, I hear that one more time. And I'm sure like this contractor, he's a forester, probably was like, oh my God, here we go again, you know. And our state forester sees a lot of landowners that don't quite know what they're doing and try to do the work themselves. The difference between is I have experience, I know what trees I was looking for, but also again, it's just being totally unfamiliar with the machine that is not set up for proper forestry mulching use. If I was mulching little stuff, probably wouldn't have been a problem at all. I mean like a little tiny stuff like cedar trees like this big kind of thing, you know. And they offered to use a different machine, and I said, guys, if it doesn't have the plexiglass, I'm not using it. So that was just very understandable. So, but no, it's good to there's companies like that are willing to work with their ignorant customers like me. So anyway, we're get to work. But no, just keep this in mind. There's nothing wrong. I don't think someone who's a landowner who has lots of habitat experience or forestry experience, I don't see a problem running a machine, but just ask lots of questions. Ask, you know, what's appropriate with it, what's inappropriate, what should I not do, you know. And there's some things it's mostly, I think a skid steer is pretty common sense, like don't try to grind up a rock, you know, or whatever. Stay away from fences, because it can just wrap up in fence wire. But, you know, you gotta think about your safety, because you're chopping up wood. I mean, it's literally eating wood, you know. So it's like you got to think about all these variables that could affect you. I mean, I could have gotten impaled by this chunk of wood. I mean, it's about, you know, this big, and you know, it could have killed me. You know, it could have seriously hurt me or kill me. And then it's like, you know, leaving my family behind, was that worth it? You know, and I can't blame anyone else like myself, because it could have. Because I am the one that could ask those questions. So I just want to share, you know, it's a cool machine. I don't want to tear it up, so that's why we're giving it back earlier. But well, I'll give you some real footage of a contractor who can actually run mulchers professionally here, hopefully this week.